Booga booga.
A good villain is usually half the story, and because Thrawn's live-action debut was so lackluster, we here at Great White Ape wanted to extend a helpful hand to Dave Filoni and company the next time they decide to introduce pivotal characters in whom entire series of content hinge upon. For today's lesson, we are going to compare Thrawn's introduction to that of Keyser Soze from the 1995 film The Usual Suspects. The names of both characters carry a certain amount of gravitas, and people are genuinely nervous whenever they're mentioned. They're also not superhuman in their abilities. They're just meant to be smart, brutal, effective men. Since Thrawn is still pretty fresh in people's minds, let's go ahead and start with Keyser Soze. We're introduced to Keyser Soze by a name drop, and when he's mentioned, everyone in the room is visually nervous. And then we get this wonderful, groundbreaking, world-building line.
Who is Keyser Soze?
We now flash into a story that shows Keyser Soze's early life as an up-and-coming drug lord. Some rivals want to muscle Soze out of his territory, so they show up at his home and take his family hostage. To show they mean business, they do this. And then Soze responds with this. And then with this. Apparently he didn't want his family to live with the horrors of what they had witnessed that day. The story ends with Keyser Soze going after the rest of the mob. He kills their kids, their wives, their parents, and their parents' friends.
He burns down the houses they live in and the stores they work in. He kills people that owe them money.
Now you may argue that that's just a story, but then Keyser follows all of this up by offing most of the cast. Let's then compare this to our blue friend Thrawn. Like Keyser Soze, we're introduced to Thrawn via a name drop, and from the moment Ahsoka mentions Thrawn to Hera, we get a series of oh crap looks from the supporting cast. Here's Hera's. Here's Mon Mothma's. And here's these guys. They're all clearly weary of the name, they know who he is, and they all seem to think that he's a legitimate threat. The trouble is, we as the audience don't have any reason to believe this. There is no who is Keyser Soze moment. As a matter of fact, we don't actually see Thrawn do anything this entire season. The machinations we do see play out in the Ahsoka series aren't anything greater than a basic villain. I mean, the magnum opus of Thrawn's plan seems to be stealing hyperdrive engines. And it wasn't even really him who did that. And when we do see Thrawn, he's underwhelming. He's supposed to be a brilliant tactician, but the scripting doesn't feel like the writers could be bothered to come up with any actual character building. Instead, the writers just play it off like all of Thrawn's failings leading up to the last episode of the season were all part of the plan.
Long live the Empire.
The crappy part is Thrawn is made out to be the devil in this series, but he's just a pudgy blue man who can't seem to teach his men to shoot straight. Keyser Soze, however, is not only portrayed as the devil, but he undergirds the mythos of his character with action, with follow-through. This makes for a very engaging foil to the rest of the cast that legitimately raises the stakes. Use this same template for Thrawn and you have a compelling villain. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in seeing more intelligent and well-reasoned arguments, click on the video you see popping up on your screen. And as always, like, subscribe, hit the bell.
Booga booga.